So hi Matthew, how are you today?
I'm well, thank you. How are you?
Doing well, doing well. Thank you so much for taking time. I first have to say that I absolutely loved Fantasy Life, so thank you for
Oh,
making it.
I'm so happy to hear that. Thank you. Thank you for saying that.
Of course, of course. And it's my understanding that this is your feature film debut as writer and director. Is that correct?
Yes, that is definitely correct.
That's awesome. Congratulations on that.
Thank
Um,
you.
what inspired you to write and then direct a film?
So, on the writing end, I've been working as an actor for a long time, and I was in a stretch that was very difficult, kind of a desperate moment where I just wasn't getting roles, and I put that energy, whatever it was, into writing as a coping technique. And, that was sort of the beginning of the writing process for me. Once I had completed the screenplay, I I thought, okay, I'm gonna try and get this going. But at that time, I thought of it as something I could act in and find a director to direct, and it just didn't like happen. And so at a certain point I kind of started to consider, okay, if I'm gonna do this, I think I'm gonna have to just do it myself. And I decided that I was gonna try and put myself out there as a director, and somehow it happened.
How do you feel now that you took on that challenge and succeeded?
I feel really good about it. The main reward being the creative opening it, you know, um, had, and how like satisfying and challenging and interesting the whole process was. And that it really was like this creative, this new creative experience that I hadn't known was in my grasp.
One thing I really liked about the film is that you talk about mental health in a way that we're not used to seeing on the screen. What went into the choices you made in portraying that?
It was important to me to incorporate, my experience with mental health and the details, the humor, the uncertainty of, that experience. And I wanted to try and create scenes that were like went against the tropes of like, someone screaming in the mental hospital, or, some other extreme version of what you might see. Not that that isn't a real thing, but at least for me, I hadn't seen a lot of like normal, somewhat well-functioning people dealing with mental health issues, in a way that I could relate to.
It was definitely relatable and very refreshing, so thank you for that.
Oh, good.
I also really loved seeing Amanda on screen. What was it about her that made her the perfect Diane?
I'm a big Amanda Peet fan from way back, and I think part of the reason I've loved her as an actor is she has, really um, good comedy chops. Like, she's just clearly got a sense of humor, but she's also there's a kind of sensitivity and reality to her, and a likableness that makes her very appealing. And uh I didn't, initially, like, I hadn't been thinking about her when I wrote the script. But when we started the casting process and Amanda came up, it was like a, a clicking moment where I just was so excited to send her the script and so scared she'd say no because it was like, oh my God, this is like the perfect actor for it.
It was really nice to see her on screen. It's been quite a while. I also wanted to ask about the three little girls that Sam gets to babysit.
Yeah.
Where did you find them? Were they already sisters? What was it like working with them?
Yeah, they were not sisters. I was fortunate to have a casting director who had worked with kids a lot, in the course of um, his career, and so we did like some casting sessions where we brought kids in to this theater where this casting director works, and we just like read the scenes with them, and I got to see and work with a bunch of kid actors, and I just quickly gravitated towards these three girls, and when they were on set and in the flow of making the movie, it was just like amazing how professional and like off book, and the producers were like so worried about having kid actors have more substantial roles, because it would like take us behind schedule or they wouldn't know our lines, whatever. But it was like the complete opposite. They were so lovely and easy to work with and just great actors.
They were so funny and so delightful. And I'm very surprised to hear that they weren't sisters already.
No, they weren't, and but they did become um, very close, I think, and I think they still keep in touch, which
I love
is so
that.
nice. Yeah,
Love that. Um, what do you hope that people take away from watching Fantasy Life?
I hope that people, like what you shared yourself, like I hope that people can relate to the characters and themes and you know um the the kind of path these two people are on, and sort of where you find them at the end, and in sort of an uncertain place, that you might feel for both of them, and you know have some satisfaction in that they have kind of encountered each other and gotten something out of that.
Love that. Um, Unfortunately, I'm running out of time, so I'm going to jump to my final question. Now that you have written, directed, and starred in a feature film and it's had huge success, are you going to do it again?
Thank you for the question. I would love to do it again. It was, like I was saying, like it just was such an opening for me personally and creatively, and I loved it, and so I'm, definitely gonna keep trying to direct.
I love that, and I will be on the lookout for it for sure.
Thank you.
Um, Thank you so much for taking time to speak with me. Again, absolutely loved it, and I will look out for your future projects.
Oh, thank you, Beth. It was so nice to talk to you.
Have a great rest of your day.
Yeah, you too.